Welcome to my channel. I'm Calista Hart, creator of the magnetic attraction method, helping women become the most magnetic version of themselves, confident, unforgettable, and completely irresistible. If you've ever found yourself overgiving, overthinking, or putting someone on a pedestal, hoping they'd finally see your worth, I get it. A lot of us have been there. That's the nice girl pattern, loyal, loving, well-intentioned, and often walked all over. The truth is, most men don't respect the overly nice girl. And without realizing it, her energy leaves her wide open to being taken for granted or even manipulated. The good news: you don't have to stay stuck in that dynamic. You can shift how men see you by shifting how you show up. The traits I'm sharing today aren't about becoming someone you're not. They're about becoming the best version of you, the woman who knows her value, owns it, and lives by it. That's the woman men chase, the woman they fear losing, the woman they commit to, not because she begged, but because she embodied the standard. You can become her. And the moment you do, the whole game changes. And no, being high value has nothing to do with looks, status, or having a high IQ. It's about how you carry yourself, what you tolerate, and how rooted you are in your own worth. If you're tired of being overlooked, undervalued, or treated like an option, this is your turning point. Because when you shift into high value energy, men respond differently. The dynamic changes. The way he sees you shifts, and so does the way he treats you. These aren't surface-level tricks. They come from a mindset shift that changes how you carry yourself. And when you show up this way, men take you seriously, and they can't get enough of you. And the best part, you don't have to be perfect, just consistent. With practice, this version of you becomes natural. Today, we're breaking down the traits of a high-value woman, the kind of woman men can't help but chase, respect, and commit to. Let's get started. Number 1 is she has a life of her own. A high-value woman doesn't abandon herself the moment she meets someone she likes. She has her own life, her goals, routines, hobbies, and friendships, and she doesn't drop them just to fit around his. For instance, if he texts her at 6 p.m. asking to see her that night, she doesn't rush to say yes. She already has plans, even if it's just Pilates and a glass of wine. If he wants to see her, he'll need to plan ahead. Most women, often without realizing it, start reshaping their lives around a man. They skip the gym, cancel on friends, let their own goals slide. But she doesn't. She makes room for love, but never at the expense of herself. She's not playing hard to get. She is hard to get, because her time is already filled with things that fulfill her. That kind of independence doesn't just make her attractive. It makes her more desirable in a man's eyes. She doesn't make a man the center of her universe. She keeps her own world intact and invites him into it. That energy shifts how he sees her. It says, there's space for you, but I won't shrink to make room. When a woman drops everything for a man, cancels her plans, stops seeing friends, lets her goals fade into the background, it doesn't make him value her more. It makes her predictable and easy to take for granted. It tells him she's becoming emotionally dependent on him. And while that might look like devotion, to a man it feels heavy. It takes away the mystery, the challenge, and instead of inspiring him to step up, it often makes him step back. But when a woman has her own life, it sends a powerful message. I'm not waiting around for you, but you're welcome to earn your place beside me. That energy tells him she's not desperate, she's discerning. And that flips the dynamic. He starts investing more because he wants to be chosen by a woman who doesn't need him, but chooses him. Men respect women who respect themselves. When she honors her own time, her goals, and her priorities, he starts seeing her as someone of real value, someone he could lose if he doesn't step up. She's not just waiting around for him, she's living a life that feels full with or without him. And that's exactly what makes him want to be part of it. Number 2 is she has boundaries and keeps them. A high-value woman doesn't just talk about boundaries, she lives by them. She knows her worth and it shows in her actions. For example, if a man crosses a line, she doesn't argue, threaten, beg, or explain herself endlessly. She calmly and firmly sets a boundary once, and if it's ignored, she takes action. She doesn't nag or complain or try to convince him to change. She just removes her time and attention. For example, if he cancels a date last minute for the second time, she doesn't send a long message demanding answers. She simply stops being available. That calm withdrawal hits different. It shows him her time isn't guaranteed. It's earned. No tantrum, no novel-length paragraph, just silence. And trust me, men hear that loud and clear. A nice girl might set a weak boundary but not follow through. She'll say, "I didn't like it when you did that," but then allow the same thing to happen again without consequence. She hopes being patient and low drama will make him step up, but it doesn't. It tells him she's not serious about her boundary. When you set boundaries and stick to them, it sends a clear message. I respect myself, and if you don't get access to me. That's what earns a man's respect. Number 3 is she is emotionally grounded. She knows how to control her emotions. That doesn't mean she doesn't feel. It means she knows how to handle what she feels. She responds with composure instead of reacting with chaos. She can be upset, confused, or disappointed, but she doesn't spiral, send a flood of texts, or start a fight. She pauses, processes, and chooses her response. That control makes her powerful because she stays in charge of herself. She might still cry into her pillow, but you'll never catch her crying in his voicemail. A woman who doesn't control her emotions panics when he pulls away. She begs for reassurance. She argues or lashes out because her emotional state is tied to his attention. Not because she's trying to be dramatic, but because she doesn't yet know how to hold her feelings without reacting to them. And to a man, that feels heavy. When you can't regulate your emotions, you become easy to manipulate. He knows exactly how to trigger an emotional reaction. But a high-value woman doesn't give anyone that kind of power. Her self-worth doesn't rise and fall with his mood or attention. She can take space, sit with discomfort, and keep her dignity intact. That kind of emotional control doesn't just earn his respect, it earns his admiration. Men feel safe around that kind of woman. They listen more, act better, and step up, not because she demanded it, but because her presence commands it. Number 4 is she is confident. She's confident, not in a loud or attention-seeking way, but in a grounded, quietly powerful way. She's comfortable in her own skin. She accepts herself as she is, flaws and all, and that self-acceptance radiates through everything she does. She doesn't seek validation or try to prove she's good enough. She already knows she is. She doesn't walk into a room wondering if she's pretty enough. She walks in knowing she brings something valuable just by being herself. And it's not just her outfit, it's her energy that turns heads. On the other hand, an insecure woman second-guesses herself. She's afraid to say the wrong thing. She changes who she is to fit what she thinks he wants. Her self-worth depends on attention, and that makes her easy to overlook. And men can feel the difference. Confidence is captivating. Insecurity is draining. A confident woman makes a man want to earn her. An insecure woman ends up chasing him. Confidence makes her stand out without trying. It makes her irresistible, not because she's the best looking in the room, but because she carries herself like she already knows she's enough. That kind of confidence shows in how she is around other women as well, which leads us nicely on to point 5. She is secure around other women. She doesn't compete, she doesn't compare, and she definitely doesn't crumble when another attractive woman enters the room. Why? Because she's secure in her own skin. She knows her value doesn't decrease just because someone else is shining. She's not jealous if her man looks at someone else, and she doesn't fall for games meant to trigger insecurity. If a man tries to make her jealous, she doesn't bite. She stays cool and unbothered because any man who needs to play those games isn't someone she's competing for. She doesn't compete for clowns, she lets the circus run without her. An insecure woman might panic when she sees someone prettier. She might accuse him of looking. At first, he might feel flattered, but over time it wears thin. That neediness chips away at attraction. And sure, with a high-value woman, insecurity happens sometimes, but she doesn't let it run the show. Other women can be stunning, smart, or charming, and she can admire them without doubting herself. That kind of emotional maturity draws men in. It sets her apart as someone with quiet confidence, someone who doesn't flinch when the spotlight shifts. Number 6 is she is selective. A high-value woman doesn't say yes to every man who shows interest. She has standards and she honors them. She's not impressed by charm alone. She looks for consistency, effort, and character. Just because a man wants her doesn't mean he gets access to her. She chooses based on how he behaves, not just how he talks. While some women get caught up in the excitement of being chosen, she doesn't because she's doing the choosing. She's not rude or dismissive, but she doesn't entertain behavior that falls short. If a man ghosts for days, then reappears casually, she's already emotionally checked out. She clocked that nonsense days ago. Now he's talking to the version of her that's already moved on. If he puts in lazy effort, he gets no reward. An insecure woman might accept any attention out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not being picked. She entertains men who don't show real effort just to feel validated. But a selective woman isn't afraid of missing out. She's more afraid of wasting her time. And deep down, she knows being alone isn't the worst outcome. Being undervalued is. Men feel that difference. When she gives her attention, it means something. It's not handed out, it's earned. Number 7 is she is strategic, not manipulative. A high-value woman isn't manipulative, and she doesn't need to play games to get a man's attention. But she is intentional. Everything she does comes from a deep understanding of her value and how men respond to it. She's not throwing out ultimatums, faking disinterest, or using silence to punish. She doesn't need to. She studied how men operate, and instead of reacting emotionally, she responds wisely. She's got a PhD in patterns and a black belt in emotional restraint. That's what makes her strategic. Other women might try to use tactics like waiting exactly 4 hours to text back, posting thirst traps to spark jealousy, or pulling away just to trigger a chase. But men aren't stupid. They can tell when it's an act, and when they sense manipulation, they either play along just long enough to win or lose respect entirely. This woman isn't pretending to be high value. She became high value. She didn't get there overnight. She learned, she evolved, she changed the way she thinks, feels, and behaves in relationships. She wasn't born with this mindset. She built it through trial, error, and a few hard lessons. And that's what makes her different. She doesn't need to manipulate because she holds the real power. Emotional discipline, self-respect, and the ability to walk away when her standards aren't met. That's not a tactic. That's a mindset. And men can feel the difference. Men don't walk all over her because they know they can't. She's not just attractive, she's respected. Number 8 is she keeps her power. A high-value woman doesn't give her power away in the name of love. She doesn't abandon her standards just because she's afraid to lose him. She doesn't over-explain, over-apologize, or chase validation when things feel uncertain. She knows the second you start overcompensating, you start shrinking. Keeping your power means staying emotionally grounded, especially when it's tempting to react. She doesn't spiral when he pulls back. She doesn't beg for reassurance, and she doesn't try to force clarity through desperate texts or dramatic exits. She pulls her energy in. She pauses. She observes. And while he's busy wondering what she's thinking, she's already 10 thoughts ahead. That pause is power. She knows that when you always make yourself available, always explain yourself, always try to fix everything, you stop being desirable and start becoming easy to dismiss. Men might like a woman who gives and gives at first, but they respect a woman who knows when to stop giving. Power isn't about control or dominance. It's about emotional discipline. It's about choosing responses that protect your self-worth. When she doesn't hand over her dignity just to keep a man, that's when he sees her value most clearly. Even if it hurts, she holds the line because losing herself would cost more than losing him. She doesn't need to raise her voice, issue ultimatums, or prove her point. Her silence, her calm, her willingness to walk away from anything that costs her peace, that says everything. Number 9 is she's kind, not cold. A high-value woman isn't rude to make a point. She doesn't act cold or brash just to seem in control. She's kind, but not at the cost of her self-respect. Some people think being high-value means being a bit of a bitch, that if you're nice, you'll be taken for granted. But here's the truth. Kindness isn't weakness. It's not about being overly sweet or bending over backwards. It's about how you treat people while still protecting your standards. You can be warm, thoughtful, even vulnerable, and still walk away when someone crosses the line. Men don't lose interest because you're kind. They lose interest when kindness turns into neediness. But when you're kind and grounded, it creates emotional safety. And that's rare. Kindness, when it comes from strength, isn't just attractive, it's powerful because it shows you're not pretending to be high value. You actually are. So how do you become this woman? Well, it's not about faking confidence or memorizing rules. It's about choosing differently, speaking up when something doesn't feel right, saying no when you used to say yes, holding your own even when you feel tempted to fold. You become her by checking in with yourself before chasing someone else, by noticing when you're acting from fear and choosing self-respect instead. No woman wakes up one day magically high value. This isn't Disney. Transformation takes guts, not fairy dust. She becomes high value, one boundary, one decision, one self-respecting move at a time. The most magnetic women aren't perfect. They're just clear on what they deserve, clear on what they won't accept, and clear on how they show up. If you want to attract better, it starts with becoming better, not for them, but for you. You've got everything it takes, and I'm right here to help you unlock it. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe for more dating psychology and magnetic woman tips right here with me, Calista Hart. See you in the next video.